My name is Ruthie Abernitsky. We started this trip a year and a half ago. Archbishop JOB was still alive. He was retiring. He talked about going to Project Mexico. When he found out we were going, he came into prayers for us, and he said he'd really like to go sometime.
Only the driver's got it. Okay, thanks a lot. I need Father Herman. Hi, Father Herman. Jim Emrick. Julie Kozlowski. Larissa Robertson. Father Dushan. All up here. We're leaving.
We named it Orthodox Basic Training for a reason, and that's that we just really try to throw all of our heart and soul into what we believe as Orthodox Christians. This chapel here, this altar here, is the only Orthodox chapel north of Mexico City. So then Mexico City is 3,000 miles away.
I'm not a friendly puppy.
Because I like to pick them out.
These are laid out.
Right on North Campus materials, and nanotechnology is not affordable for both campuses.
That's a gorgeous church.
Well, first of all, I'll make introductions. This is Alfonso and Marina. Del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos, santificado. So we're going to be leveling this site. It's pretty level right now, but we want to get it perfect so that the pad sits nice and level.
One of the newsletters that Gregory Yoba wrote was about how these houses change people's lives, because they're not that far from San Diego, and when San Diego has mudslides, these people here experience mudslides, but their dwellings aren't permanent, so they tend to wash away. And so this is our chance to change someone's life.
Stay out of his way. poverty, no matter wherever you go, is always going to be the same. But poverty here is not just a man standing on the side of a street, it's a whole town or a whole city of people struggling no matter where you look.
When I was 9 years old in 1984, leaving Ethiopia to Sudan, all this Red Cross was preparing like tents and feeding us and helping us, and I was standing there watching them how they volunteer and doing things, and I just stood there. I said, I wish I was one of them. And slowly dream come true. Here I am. I just feel so happy, really clearly.
Only if you don't cut her off.
Let the hammer do
The high part is theirs.
Actually, and we, for some reason, we need to leave the country to actually meet each other. And it's just the fact that this is kind of the Orthodox Disneyland of the teens in America, and they're all here every year, and it's a spectacular experience.
This is my third year going here, and I can't go away. It's an addiction for me. I need to be here at least once a year.
We're here in Mexico, and things are different. People are open-minded. They do everything they can to be happy, no matter how hard their life is or how difficult their life is.
Just being here with this experience, something you really can't do in the United States in such a drastic difference.
I came on this mission trip in memory of Archbishop JOB. That was the main reason that we had even heard about the opportunity to come, so that's the main reason.
It's a lot of work and you're really sore, but it's so worth it, like seeing the reactions and like just knowing that you're doing something great for another person.
The biggest thing that I like to see is the spirit that's generated from us coming together and the large group of teens that we have here all together. It's a beautiful thing.
This is a border territory, so they just see Americans as people that come down here and party, and they just basically disrespect the culture down here, but we try to change that viewpoint.
Hey, Project Mexico spa trip. What do you think? Can we market that? Come back with the muscles you always wanted.
And one of the most powerful things we can do as Christians is to do very practical things that the world responds to. Fallen as it is, if they see us doing good works, if they see things that they can objectively recognize as good, they will wonder what we have.
Early in December of 2009, I was having a discussion with Vladika JOB, and he was talking about his retirement. And at that time, he said that Matushka Ruth had suggested that instead of buying him something that he would just put in a drawer, that we take him on a Project Mexico mission with us and pay his expenses. And he was really thought that was a good idea.
His teaching people in the diocese to reach out, to help others, to help those who are in need. I think that's what encouraged people to have this trip organized to begin with. And then once he fell asleep in the Lord, it was a beautiful thing to convert that to a mission trip to Project Mexico in his memory.
This is Fernando. He's my little buddy. We're having lots of fun here. And his dog, we're building this house for him. There. Hola.
I knew him through letters that we wrote each other, and towards the end of his life, I wrote him a letter, I think a week before he passed, when Father Tim, my priest, called and told me that he was no longer with us. I don't know what I really felt. It was kind of more just weight.
Bishop Job he was like a pal to the children. There was nothing that they asked that he did not answer. And even afterwards they were crying because he was leaving.
He always made time to see all the church school children in different groups, in different ages, segregated into their age groups so that he could relate to them at the age that they were.
You know, what I really like about him was he loved roller coasters. He did. He wanted to go with me after he had retired from being the bishop of the diocese.
He knew us all by name, and I thought that was amazing. He would always take time to talk to the little ones.
He was just so caring and so loving, and you can tell that he wants to listen to you, and he knows that you're going through, and that he just always wants to be there, and he cares about you, and I thought that was really special of him.
He was really special to me because he made me feel like I was special to him, and so that was really important to me.
Every time I've ever been to a place, I could name it, where it was, what year, what church. You come away feeling special when your bishop's there.
Okay, 1 rock, 2 rocks.
3 rocks.
Weren't we? Yeah. 8, 9, and he came in and he was talking to us, and we were allowed to ask him questions, and we were just asking such silly questions, and he was just fooling around with us. He was just not. It's not like he was really kept to himself. He was really like normal. He was like, I mean, he was normal. He was like a normal guy. He was funny.
He didn't expect us to. He was very personable, if that's a word. He wasn't kind of like, I am.
We were able to be ourselves with him, and we were able to get to know him.
He made them feel important in the church. And I think that's a huge thing.
Let's go to the edge here, and then we'll go back and start again, okay?
Watch your feet.
I think that'll be fine.
A lot of water here.
I think if he were here, he would be very proud to see the future of Orthodoxy. We have so many teens working so hard to get these homes built.
1, 2, 3. Clean up. All right.
Being with young people was something that he truly did enjoy and received a great deal of blessing from, and of course he had a great impact on the lives of all of those young people and children, which I think is why the diocese is as strong as it is.
Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, now and ever, and to ages of ages. Amen. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy.
Heard what he had to say, whether he said it from the church, from the pulpit, or just in a gentle, personal way. It was always very, very healing to be around him.
I remember in Boston being at the cathedral. It was his church, and so we never knew when he would come. And there'd be times you'd be in the middle of vigil, and you'd glance out of the corner of your eyes, and there was a shadow behind one of the pillars. And it was our Vladika. And he was there just quietly standing, saying his prayers. And that's really how he wanted everyone to be, just quiet in their own way with God. He was never flamboyant. He was never boastful. His love just drew everyone to you. And his humility drew everyone to him to watch him.
Sitting down in clergy convocations, even before I was Orthodox, and sitting in a big circle with all the priests, and he says, "Okay, gentlemen, now tell me everything I'm doing wrong." And his complete candor and openness with us. And that's just the way he was as a person. He was Orthodoxy in action.
And when he would read the Gospel of the
crucifixion. And he was such a pious man. He would actually read it very slowly but very beautifully, and almost always end up in tears by the end of the reading.
A very, very godly man. When he prayed, he prayed. When he served the liturgy, he prayed the liturgy.
He had a presence in the altar when he served services that was like no one else I've ever served with, I think, to this day. No one, he just by serving with him, I learned what it meant to be present in the altar, to pray, how to pray a service. He was 100% into every service he served.
I remember once being the choir director at Christ the Savior, which is next to where he used to reside, and a lady came in and wanted a panihida served, and His Eminence obliged her and began to serve the panihida, and there was some chaos with some people coming in, some disruptions, and it didn't disrupt his prayer. He didn't look back. He just kept praying, kept chanting, kept singing, and his presence was something that was soothing and very stabilizing, but also very humble.
His Eminence was full of love, and he showed that, and he gave his love. He had a lot of love for Christ and his church, and he also gave all his love to his people and all his time to his people.
He really embodied what I thought of as a humble leader, and very competent, and just leadership through humility. He always seemed like he was willing to do anything. He never wanted any credit for anything that was done. And that to me was extremely refreshing. As a convert coming into the church, sometimes from outside you can look at Orthodoxy and sort of get scared away by some of the pomp and circumstance. And he was so refreshing because, beneath all those robes, he was a guy who was very, very humble, and in his heart was very dedicated to the Orthodox Church.
I remember one woman in particular who was a convert who was very impressed about the way he made the sign of the cross. And it was just, it was with such deep affection and conviction that he would make that sign.
Archbishop JOB was a very kind and gentle person. He was not a confrontational person, but at the time that the church needed a courageous hierarch, someone to speak the truth, he was there for that.
When he took his stand against the scandals in the church, that the whole diocese of the Midwest stood firmly behind him. I think we were privileged to be a source of strength for him in his well, I guess you could almost call it a crusade to turn the way the church was run around. And as we see, that those beginnings have been made. We're doing things in a much more open manner.
I remember very clearly when Archbishop JOB came one time to our parish, and he said that he stood up in front of everyone and admitted that initially he had made a mistake in his judgment of the situation. And that did more to heal the hurt than anything he could have ever said or did.
Very, very sad when he had to move on to the Diocese of the Midwest because the New England group just treasured him.
There have been relationships that have healed in the two parishes now, and just a real coming back together because we are all in the family of God.
When he was the bishop in New England, how sad the people in the Diocese of New England was when he left there to go to Chicago, because everywhere he went, people loved him and people respected him. And he was always one of the bishops that I always highly respected.
Bishop JOB got to know his diocese throughout the years and got to love them. I think Bishop Mathias is going to have sort of a head start on that, knowing a lot of people from the diocese very closely in 1 week. I think that might help his work throughout the diocese, because this gives him a good insight on people across the diocese, rather than just knowing the Chicago area first, which tends to happen because that's where he is.
Bishops like Bishop JOB and then now Bishop Mathias are just wonderful. They're wonderful that they're in touch with the youth, that they want to be a part of it, that they want to relate to the youth.
When we first met him, we noticed a lot of similarities, just the same kindness in his eyes and just the same approachability. We're really happy with Bishop Mathias. And well, as you can see with him, he's not afraid to get down and dirty too.
There you go.
You broke the skin.
We see it. Keep going. Go for it. Push. I see it.
Come on, that's it. That's it.
Almost there.
Archbishop JOB was a great lover of the liturgy, of music. He loved to serve. And it was a great tragedy and sorrow.
He and I were the authors of the Church Slavonic Blues, if anyone has ever heard that. That was our claim to fame song.
His great love for church music was evident in much of what he did. I remember in Chicago, before his death, he was telling me about a choir of male singers that he really enjoyed being with and making recordings with.
I don't know if he was writing music, probably something quiet that we never knew. He always had something he was doing in the background that we never knew about, and it wasn't until something was published that we finally knew what his talents were.
A lot of times when he was stressed, he would compose music in this chant and arrange music.
I found two pieces of music that Bishop Job had composed or transliterated. One is a new commandment, and the other is the Carpatho-Russian melody for St. Simeon's.
He painted that icon of the Last Judgment, and many of us have it. And he was, as we know, from the Carpatho-Russian background. And so he wasn't a fan of the higher back vestments. He liked the ones that laid flat on your shoulders. And he never spoke, he never would preach about it or anything, but he would put in little hints now and then. So if you look very closely at his Last Judgment icon, of course every icon has bishops and priests in heaven and bishops and priests in hell. But in his icon, the bishops and priests in hell are wearing the high back, and the ones in heaven are wearing the low back vestments. That was Archbishop Job.
November, before he passed away, Holy Trinity had our first talent show on our little stage in the hall. And after all the acts had gone, we had an open mic, and no one was getting up. But then Archbishop Job got up, and he sang self-written country music, country song parody. And it was the funniest thing I've ever heard. And he had it down, like he was ready to go. It was like he had prepared it. And thank God someone had a camera and we have it on tape because we play it at all of our talent shows now.
I'm going to perform for you a song that I composed myself. It's called "It's Hard to Hang Your Christmas Lights When Your Trailer is Still Moving." Oh, it's hard to hang your Christmas lights when your trailer is still moving. It's hard to drive to Tulsa when your truck's still up on blocks. And it's hard to call your kids when they're all named Billy Bubba. But I'm proud to keep on singing that country music.
Is there? Okay. It's okay if you put it over here. If it falls on the mat, we'll just keep it up. Go ahead.
You just take it like this, okay? Come up here, just spread it on.
That's what kept it up there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
¿Qué vas a poner aquí?
Santa Agua.
imparted by our